What's up, everybody? Welcome back to your Friday EMEA broadcast of Aegis's Runeterra Esports League. I'm Monte Cristo and I'm joined by Zero. How are you doing today, Zero?
I'm doing super well. I just finished casting the Italian Legends of Runeterra Championship, so I just opted in into Runeterra into Aegis Esports, and I was like, okay, I've already seen some very good Runeterra, but I cannot wait to see like the rank one player like Ultraman playing because I just saw like Broken Ball lose miserably a series. So yeah, a bit like.
Yeah, today's broadcast should be a great one for you guys. We do have Ultramen up on deck in the first set of the day, just like you said, Zero. I'm super excited to take a look at his decks and see what he's got in store for us. And it looks like we have a Mono Viego deck. This is a really exciting one. It's got Bokkai Sand Spinners, it's got Hydra Vines, it's got Vengeance. Notably lacking Atrocity, though. Interesting deck list. What do you think of this, Zero?
I think this is the shift. The meta is shifting towards a more mid-rangey side. Like we've seen it with, for example, Monoshirima, which now is a much runs in a much more mid-rangey version. We've seen it with the resurgence of Action C. We've seen it times and times again. And now I think Viego can be in a very good spot, especially in tournaments where it can be allowed to grow in the board to faster and to take advantage of his effect and his level up. Hydrovines, we know it's a very powerful card. Once it comes down on board, you have to either instantly remove it or you're just slowly losing the game every turn that goes on. So I think this list is a very strong mid range, especially since Quicksand is so strong right now.
Yeah, it is an incredibly strong mid-range list. Like you said, Quicksand is there. Ancient Hourglass, definitely one of the best protection spells in the game at the moment. And of course, he's also got 3 Rite of Negations in here. This is very centered around beating control. I guess Ultraman
Mhm.
expected to see quite a bit of it today. A lot of these lists I've seen don't have the 3 Hydra Vines. They don't have 3 Rite of Negations. They don't have 3 Quicksands. They don't have 3 Hourglass. But Ultraman decides that, hey, I'm gonna just come out here. I expect to see control. I want to beat that every single time. Is on the triple deny. Is on the triple Rite of Calling as well. That's going to give him access to extra Viegos, which when you have one on the board already becomes a despair. Great kill spell. We can see that he's only playing one Vengeance here. So definitely trying to balance out his matchups a little bit with this deck. And then from the other side, we've got Cosimo's Ziggs Talia deck. And this is another one. This is a personal favorite deck of mine. This looks like a pretty standard list. You've got the 3 Quicksand, 3 Rite of Arcane, 3 Unraveled Earth, the 1 of Arsenal that most people are still on, and no Unleashed Energy and no Waste Walkers, notably. That's okay. This is definitely more of that mid-rangey approach. Like you said, Zero, this is where the meta is going, and it looks like it's going to continue to go in this direction. Do you have any thoughts on this deck?
No Magus.
No Magus,
When this
yeah.
deck, I was like, there is no Magus, and the thing is, I've seen decks cut the Magus more and more. And the main decks that I've seen, like they were keeping it like at one off. So I'm not that surprised to not see the Magus, but only one Arsenal. That's where the problems may come in because we know Arsenal is basically an additional champion in this deck. It's like the
Really?
Leviathan with Timo Swain. It's the
Oh.
finisher. It's the powerful top end that you can top deck and does the same job as a Faron, but much more threatening because it can have elusive, spell shield, scout, life steal if you need it in some aggro matchups. So this deck is super strong, has a great control on the board. Ziggs, of course, can aggro you very well, and you have basically a very low cost end until turn 8. Because we see you have 3 Desert Naturalists that can give you like more and more blockers, more and more attackers with the 5/4 that they're gonna spawn from the landmarks. You have Endless Devout that we know that card, especially from Monoshirima, that is a bane for basically controls or removal deck like Caitlyn Ezreal because they cannot keep up with the speed that you are generating units at. And yeah, I think this deck is pretty well positioned to win many mid-range matchups, but I don't know how it would fare against Viego.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed out the lack of Herald of the Magus, and also that you brought up the Arsenal. Personally, I've been playing a fair bit of this deck, but I played as a much more aggressive list than the one you see on screen, and because of that, I really don't like the Arsenal in this list. I find that most of the time when it comes down, it only has about 3 or 4 keywords, and I don't feel that's enough. That said, it does improve your control matchups, and if that is what you're looking to hit, it makes a lot of sense to keep it in the deck. I also believe that you should have at least 3 Overwhelm grants, or 3 ways to give your champions Overwhelm in this list, so I would have liked to see a third Absolver, but I do understand that the list is quite tight. Ancient Prep, of course, is going to help you feed into that arsenal, just an extra 1-drop, streamline your draws a little bit, and guarantee that it has one more keyword because you're playing a landmark that's going to count down and without any interaction.
Yeah, like you mentioned that you played a much more aggressive list. I think this list suits the meta now because the meta, as we said time and time again, it's mid range. So this list has adapted into being very static on board, not being that aggressive with not that many 1 and 2 drops, just playing the Inventive Chemist and Rockhopper. So I think the meta slowed down, and because of that, we are seeing this kind of variations.
Yeah, for sure. So, what else do we have in store coming up on our screen here? Just our faces. I'm really excited to see our first match of the day. I think we're going to be following Ultraman. Do we know who he's against yet? Have we figured that
Nope.
one out? Obviously, they're against the
Okay,
I'm losing
against
my tongue.
Cosimo. So we have the the super hype matchup immediately. Ultraman Cosimo. I know Cosimo like very well as a player because I casted him many times in the Spanish league when I casted with Sparkling Ice, the Runeterra Spanish league, the Liga
Mhm.
Runica this winter. So I know that he loves landmark decks, and originally he was, I think, the one that brought Troll deck into popularity, at least in Europe. Alongside Broken Ball, for example, that was another very big stand of the Turbo Troll list, and I'm very excited to see him potentially playing Talia Ziggs. On the other side, we know that Ultraman is bringing is Caitlyn Ezreal, which is pretty famous for because he just made rank 1 Europe with it at over 1.2k LPs. So I expect those two lists from one and the other player to be kind of banned because of their
Yeah.
proficiency at them.
Yeah, Ultraman is definitely one of the best Caitlyn Ezreal players in the game, especially on the EMEA shard. I saw that a couple people asking for tips on the deck, and he was more than ready to chime in and give his opinion. He was saying that the deck's changed compared to how it used to be. Notably that the deck constantly wants to play for tempo now. Whereas before it kind of had a little bit of a ramp up, ramp down, ramp back up on the tri-beam turn. Ultraman was saying that Ezreal's not really so much of a finisher card in the list anymore. He's more just there to help you out and generate a mystic shot, just keep the tempo, keep the pressure on, keep going forward, and you really just can't take your foot off the gas with the deck. But with that, looks like we're going to get into the ban phase here. And we do see the full lineup from both sides. Ultraman is, of course, on Kindred Galio, Caitlyn Ezreal, and that Viego list that we took a look from. And Cosimo on the other side is on a triple Shurima lineup, has a Viego list of his own. The Talia Ziggs list that we saw, and of course, the meta force that is Mono Shurima.
Have you ever imagined before the last patch that you would play in a tournament Monoshurima as basically a forced pick?
No, I wouldn't have. I didn't think this day was going to come, to be honest, because I'm pretty sure the devs have been pretty aware that this deck is one of those that's going to be too strong or too weak, and they've always tried to keep it on that barely fringe playable level. And I guess just the combination of buffs was a little bit more than they expected. So hopefully we get to see a couple nerfs in the patch next week, but
I mean,
I
those
would like
nerfs
for it to
are
still be
confirmed.
good.
I mean, the nerfs are confirmed because we just saw the patch preview.
Mhm.
They said they would nerf the Sandisk. I don't know if they just meant the deck, like the Sandisk deck, or just the engine, the landmark that just summon itself at turn 1 without you paying anything for it. That one was one of the very big buffs to the deck. Notably in the last patch also, Quicksand, we mentioned it, and because I think Quicksand buff is what is bringing Cosimo to get a 3 decks Shurima lineup. Quicksand is so strong that you can just force Shurima in 3 different decks.
Yeah, and of course, we do see that Mono Shurima band coming out from the side of Ultraman. Makes sense. A lot of people at the start of the patch thought Caitlyn Ezreal would be pretty decent into it, given that it runs Scorched Earth, but turns out when you take a tempo loss taking out the disc, it just runs you over as a mid-range deck. Like we said, this is a mid-range meta all of a sudden. And
Yeah, and that was one of my criticism to people that were playing like Sandisk. I think, at least in my opinion, incorrectly at the start of the patch, because they were thinking, okay, I'm playing this predict version, heavy predict version, where I can instantly get all the cards that I need, and then when Caitlyn Zero shuts you down, you just FF. And instead, I was like, just play the mid-range version. It's plainly better. Like, you can
yeah,
just play for the board even when you don't have the landmark. The champions still work. Xerath is still giving you the full control over the board with his removals and various landmarks popping. And Azir, okay, maybe it's not the strongest champion that you can have in this kind of list, but it's still pushing damage.
yeah. Azir is still a very powerful champion, even before he hits level 3. You don't need the Emperor's deck for him to be good. I completely agree with you there. And yeah, that's the ban I was expecting. This Kindred Galio list is just a bit too big for these mid-range decks to deal with. It's going to be a little bit slower and problematic. So makes a lot of sense for Cosmo to take that one out of the lineup. And now we're left with a Mono Shurima mirror match potentially and a landmark deck into this Caitlyn Ezreal deck that actually isn't too good. Actually, the matchup's not great for Caitlyn Ez, but if anybody could pull it off, it's going to be Ultraman.
It's gonna be Ultraman, and I'm very excited to potentially see the Mono Viego mirror matchup, because it's not something that you usually see on ladder. It's not something that you usually see at all, to be honest.
I don't think I've
Especially in
ever
Valorant.
seen this.
So I'm super excited. It's like yesterday that I was watching alongside some friends. They were testing lineups for
Mhm,
various tournaments, and one of them was playing Zillian Nasus.
mhm.
And so I went down to Legna's website to check stats, and it turns out like there were only 12 games in ladder playing with that deck. And when I asked him, he told me all were his games. So he was basically the only one in the world playing Zillian Nasus.
Can't be true. I've seen Jay Sensational post a YouTube video, and I've checked his
Yeah.
stats when I was scouting for RA. He had like
Oh, okay.
38 games on it. So someone's going wonky with those stats, but
Okay.
I know for a fact it's not super popular.
Okay. Man, I love when you see unpopular decks clashing against each other. You're always uncertain because yes, you can recognize, of course, the win condition from one in the other deck, but you cannot like you don't have the knowledge to know like the micro mechanics of the matchup.
Yeah. You don't know how it's going to get to that win condition, and you don't know how that win condition is going to necessarily interact with the opponents. So I'm super excited to see what these players have in store for us this first game. Hopefully, we can get into it very soon here. I would imagine they're just flipping a coin for their first match. I don't think either one of these matchups is particularly favored. I don't think they're trying to snipe anything. Just flip a coin, pick either deck, RNG it. It's the right way to do it 99% of the time, anyways.
Yeah.
Do you have any?
Especially when you have a mirror and potentially unfavorable matchup for Ultraman. Like he can be very favored against Viego if it can get to a very big stacked tree beam to immediately get rid of the Viego or the Snapvine. But instead, you're gonna see Ultraman with Caitlyn Ezreal, while Cosimo piloting is Digstalia. And as we said, matchup kind of difficult for Ultraman here because Caitlyn Zero is a deck that's very, very heavy on removals, but at the same time, the removals cost a lot in this game. So it
They
cannot quite
do.
keep up with the
Yeah,
mid-range
and
decks.
the other thing is this Talia Ziggs deck doesn't really suffer if you remove the landmarks. The only landmark that's really going to get hit by Scorched Earth is Preservarium. And you're still getting a draw for 2 mana out of that, which is almost on rate. This
Yep.
is not the opening hand you want to see if you're Cosimo, though.
No. Bricked and bricked. While on the side of Ultraman, yeah, of course, you don't have the early game, but you don't really care if the opponent is not developing anything. You could just go, you're just gonna stack the tree beam more and more, and then go for the tempo play that you mentioned before.
And
Like,
suddenly, this hand looks a lot better from the side of Cosimo. Finds an Endless Devout and immediately can consider throwing it down and trying to take out this Caitlyn. Might also just want to go for this Rite of Arcane and remove her without any risk of it being stopped.
like this is just giving out more value to Ultraman, because Ultraman is just stacking 3 beam. 3 mana Thermo Beam is not something that you see very much often these days, because like turn 3, either you do that on turn 3 immediately, or you don't have that many opportunities to manage your mana that well. But that being said, this deck, if you can stack the Tribune very early, becomes super powerful, because when you get like an 8 stack or 9 stack, not 10 is not quite that good, but 9 or 10, 8 or 9 stack is what wins you the game most times.
Yeah, 8 is certainly very good. It's definitely better than most of the other points. I think the best breakpoints are what, 6, 8, and then 9. You said?
I think 5 is kind of good. 7 is I think 7 is kind of bad, and 8 is the best one. Probably 8 is the best. 3 and 8 are the best one, I think.
3, not 4? I thought it was 4 for the high beam.
Oh yeah, yeah. True. Yeah, the higher potential on 4 is higher because of the Crocholith.
Yeah, and this Talia is gonna come down duplicating the disc from the
and
side
this is
of
the value we
Cosmo.
mentioned, right? You cannot keep up with that much follower generation, because yes, now you can deal with the Talia, you can deal with the Ziggs, but then how will you deal with 2 5-3s with Fearsome?
Yeah, you really can't. And Ultraman does have the option to use both his flocks here. Cosmo trying to decide which champion he actually wants to sacrifice. It looks like he's going to go for the Ziggs because he does have a second one in hand.
Lacks critical information, because even if you try to sack the Ziggs, both of your champions are going to be removed anyways by double flock. We see the emote game from Cosimo here. Not that happy.
You can't be feeling that bad about this either, though. Your opponent's only on 3 cards left. You have to imagine that one of them is the Tri-Beam, right? Yeah. But outside of that, how are they going to finish this game? You have ways to deal with this Tri-Beam. You've got the double right of Arcade. Pretty much anything that comes out is going to get killed for 8.
And now you know that the opponent has 4 spells on top 5 cards of his deck. So you also know this. The opponent is not going to have units, only has removals. So you can just keep putting out damage and units, and the opponent will not be able to keep up. Only has that much resources here. And also Ziggs here leveling up, gonna be a threat in the long run, because you have the draw power from inside of Cosimo. You have the power to dictate the opponent's ability of putting out units.
Oh, Cosimo considering a block with the Ziggs here.
Because you're fine, because potentially you can just play the quicksand if you think that it's worth it.
Sure, but you don't really want to be putting damage on your Ziggs at this point. Yeah, you've seen 2 flocks, but there are Scorched Earths in this deck. Like, Ziggs is... I guess you drew the arsenal here, so that way you're not feeling quite as bad if this Ziggs goes down. Actually, you're probably happy if the Scorched Earth comes out on it, because then you can win the game through your arsenal. But I don't know about this still. It's still a little questionable to me.
Yeah, it's questionable for sure, but I think in the long run might be a very, very profitable play, especially if, as you know, the Scorched Earth comes out from the side of Ultraman. Now, top decking again, as you know, we have a lot of spell on our top decks from the next few turns. We have only an Ezreal. Ezreal, unfortunately, is going to be traded always with Wrath of the Arcane. So I think Cosimo is a pretty good position now to dominate this game. Like, as the way bigger board now, the swing from the Tri-Beam is gonna come down, but in the end, I think Cosimo has too many attackers for Ultraman to answer them.
That Tri-Beam is getting rather large, though. It must be up to what, about 6 now?
I think
getting to that point.
If we can check, it would be awesome. But I think it's either 6 or 7.
It is 6. It is 6. I can count without counting. Apparently, it's a talent I have. Yeah, that Ziggs is not gonna survive, and that's a pretty good hit at 6. That's one of the better ones for sure.
Yes, 5/5 overwhelm region, definitely good. Definitely not bad, I should say.
So now, if you're Cosimo, you have a couple options. You can develop this Roiling Sands and then use your Rite of Arcane on the 3/3 to try and push some more damage. You can also just try and push damage by killing these units with the 3/1 and the 5/3, and then you're pushing 5.
By the way,
too upset.
You know, we drew the combo. I think Cosimo has this game because you see the combo, right? Arsenal plus, Arsenal plus Hourglass. Arsenal is gonna have 1 million keywords.
Yes, for the viewers who don't know, Arsenal's effect is both a summon and an aura effect. That means that when he's summoned, he gains keywords automatically, and then as he's on the board, he continues to gain keywords as landmarks are destroyed. What happens with Hourglass? He's summoned once, you put him in the Hourglass, and then he's getting another summon effect, so you duplicate all the, you get double the keywords.
I'm so good, I surprised myself.
And here comes Ezreal #1. Unfortunately, looks like the combo's gonna have to wait an extra turn, because we do have to remove this Ezreal on the spot here. And does opt to go for that landmark instead. This is fine. Either way, you could go for the mana there too. But as you said earlier, Zero, as you pointed out, you knew the next 4 cards out of Ultraman's deck were going to be spells because of that Station Archivist.
Yeah, so you can like go pretty confidently with the immediate removal. Also on the second Ezreal, that's gonna hurt a lot for Shadow Ultraman. Now relying on top decks that he knows are not gonna be very potentially very good. Now can of course opt for the attack, but Cosimo, we see that the amount of draw advantage that this kind of deck has, the amount of prediction that can help you turn the tides of the game into the late game. Like here you can choose even the Talia to summon, even if you are not gonna play her immediately because the Arsenal is potentially a better play. You just potentially don't care because you have so many units. You can duplicate the preparation and have another 2/2 coming down on board.
The other thing worth noting about this,
Look at the keywords.
Yep, so many keywords. That Scout, that's probably going to lock up the game for the side of Cosimo. It's got regeneration, meaning that, and spell shield, meaning that Ultraman's going to need 2 spells, even if he does have the Scorch. And Ultraman knows it. He's just going to save his time. He's going to go next. And what a great first game of the day.
Yeah, as I mentioned, like we mentioned immediately that this matchup was favored for Cosimo, but we saw exactly why. Like his deck has way too many units generation, too much unit generation, too much draw value, and also value from predicting the right cards at the right moment. And Arsenal closing just the game, just like that. You play Arsenal.
Yes.
Arsenal has a million keywords, and you don't even need to buff it again. It's just that strong.
And here's game 2. This matchup should be a little bit better for Ultraman, I think. Once again, has opened with the Tri-Beam, has the Ezreal to be able to continuously generate that tempo, has House Spider to slow down the early game from the side of Cosimo. Should be
even
good set.
Honestly.
Yeah, I think you do as well. And looks like Ultraman agrees.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can hope for a better hand from the side of Ultraman. Like, you have basically everything you need. You need early champ blockers. You go with the House Spiders. You need some early game removals. You have the Piltover Pacemaker or the Static Shock. Ultraman is in a very commanding position at the moment.
Even has second Ezreal, so if this first one goes down, he's not too worried. The one thing I was starting to touch on towards the end of that last game, the predict mechanic will shuffle the deck, meaning that Caitlyn's Flash Bomb traps are no longer in the top 10. Yep. They're anywhere.
Yeah, and that nerfs quite a bit the deck and the mechanic itself, because when your bomb can be the last card of the opposing deck, that's not gonna help you at all in these kind of matchups.
Yeah, it really quite nullifies the effect of the Caitlyn level up, right? She's become this big threat in the metagame because she's able to level up so much quicker now, right? The change from 10 to 8 made a huge difference in her speed of level up. Almost every single game you're going to see a Caitlyn level, whereas before, it wasn't too common of an effect.
I'm loving this pass game from Ultraman there, just passing with 4 mana, knowing that you have the static shock to get rid of the opposing board anyways, and you can just afford to pass potentially. Now, of course, you're getting Ezreal under the Merciless Hunter, which is gonna come down, but then you can just protect him with the Piltover Pacemaker. Thank you, Riot, for nerfing Merciless Hunter again. I think it's something that should always be said.
No, please rebuff it. I missed my 4/3 Merciless Hunter. I saw Gnosis on the patch notes, and I'm so excited to have Pearson back on my Susie. I have been such a big fan of that card and that deck, and I was so disappointed when I wasn't able to play it. Looks like Cosimo is going to go after that Ezreal. We'll see how he decides to pull here. Could also potentially just go for a damage swing.
Yeah, instead decides to pull the Ezreal, getting rid of it. giving the opponent potentially a very bad trade, like taking still 9 damage. I think, yeah, you have to get rid of the Merciless Hunter here, only taking 5. We always say that about Katrina Ezreal. That deck does not heal, so every damage that you do is gonna stick until the end.
And Cosmo showing he's a gamer is going to go ahead and shuffle those flash bomb traps out of his deck again if he wants. Did pick up the predict there. Other option is Viego, but without protection, I don't really think you want to be throwing that down.
No,
Finds a vengeance. That's an answer for this Ezreal.
that's the first answer that we find, because yeah, we run 3 copies of Pixel, of course, but we haven't found any. We haven't found any now. And I think this is a big threat, because Ezreal is going to generate, as you mentioned, like this is a tempo deck from Ultraman side. If you can have access to free removals to get rid or control the opponent's board, he is not gonna let them go. Or maybe he is just to bank mana. We're gonna see it soon.
I think he has to start chipping this board down. He's staring down way too much damage, but decides to take the pass. Sends it to the next round, is now going to lose that Ezreal.
He has another one. We mentioned it.
Did he pick up a third?
Ah, no, he didn't. He didn't. Right. That's
Yeah,
the
this
second
is
Ezreal.
the second one, yeah. Did find the second Tri-Beam, though, so that's going to be a big help here. We'll see what Cosmo decides to do with this turn. Could potentially open pass, but into the Tri-Beam deck, I'm not sure that's what you want to be doing.
I'm not sure exactly. I'm not sure how you want to open pass into Katrina Ezreal, because we mentioned it. That deck is as strong as how many removals can play in a turn. So if you're giving him free time to stack up mana, like that's not exactly what you want.
There's the Vengeance that we predicted would be chosen off of that predict. And it makes sense. There's not a whole lot else that you would have taken there. The Camavorian Soldiers, of course, might have been helpful, but you've already got this Hydrovine that's going to be able to come down and get started on the stack.
And yeah, I think we can accept, let the opponent burn 2 of his mana, banking only 3. We have used perfectly our mana, not not wasting anything here. And even though we don't have the advantage on the board, and I think Viego cannot come down here because we have to respect the Hydrovine is gonna start buffing everything +1/+1. It's gonna be removed, but it's gonna draw 2 cards at least from the side of Ultraman to do so.
Well, Ultraman, of course, does also have the Hourglass here, or Cosmo, rather, has the Hourglass and may choose to use it. Instead, lets the damage hit. This Hydrovine is now guaranteed to go down.
Yep. And I think you have to let her go. You cannot protect her, protect the Hydrovine, because like the opponent has 4 mana open, can do anything they want, and I think we need that draw potential from the Glimpse Beyond. But instead, Cosimo just maybe hoping to force more and more mana instead of Ultraman. Now he knows Ultraman has used another 3 mana spell, another spell that's gonna stack the Tribeam, both the Tribeams of +1/+1, but we know there is no Scorched Dart in the end anymore.
Caitlyn picked up. That's a good find. Still, as we mentioned, it is going to be a little bit wonky getting her level up to go off with all the predicts that have come out, but Cosmo slowly running out, and hopefully this Caitlyn will be able to transition into a win condition for Ultraman.
Yeah, because either Cosimo is in that weird position where even like Viego, how do you level Viego up without any other unit? Like you're not gonna get that much value at the moment from the Viego. You don't have very easy ways to proc the effect unless Ultraman willingly blocks and gives you the free +1/+1.
Nothing new, I'm afraid. What do you know?
Viego almost certainly is going to come down here, and yep, it does indeed. Well, we see Ultraman go in for the Tri-Beam now.
Yeah, I think
like
it's
it.
kind of new. And if
Or
you go for the
reconsidering.
Tri-Beam, I think Cosimo has to take advantage of the Hourglass, because
Certainly.
you cannot let Viego die. I mean, you need the second Viego potentially to get rid of any potential threat from that Tri-Beam. But instead
Yes.
decides to go for the less stacked one.
Yeah, wants to set it up for this Static Shock. if you're Cosmo, do you let this through now? It's a real consideration.
Yep. This is. I think you may let this through just to attack with the Viego and don't let the opponent get value from any removals unless they have, of course, a flock.
Just pulling up Cosmo's list to see if he's running Ruination. Sorry, not Ruination, Atrocity. And he is on a 1 copy of Atrocity. The list is actually a fair bit different from Ultraman's. 1 less Deny, 1 Atro, and he's on 3 copies of Vengeance here.
Okay, so he's running. Okay, he's running the much more removal-oriented version of the deck now. He's gonna have to face though.
That's a Justice Rider off the Tri-Beam. Talk about high rolls. Holy, that's a card that you're never happy to put in your deck, but when you find it, that's a pretty good one for this list. It does everything Caitlyn wants it to.
Yeah, exactly. It's a giant buff, a giant combo with Caitlyn, putting out lots of bombs, 1 per turn, enabling Caitlyn, because yes, there can be some predicts on the side of Cosimo, but many of them have already come out. So unless there is a top deck of another 2-3, the bombs are gonna stick, and eventually they're gonna chew through your board. I think Ultraman is a very commanding spot at the moment, especially since this Viego now is damaged and potentially is gonna die. I mean, probably.
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting spot that we found ourselves in. Ultraman is kind of poised to take over this game from this position, but of course Cosmo does have removal left available to him as well.
Yep.
I think it's going to come down to how valuable this second Tri-Beam is. And does Cosmo go for the Hourglass here?
No,
Doesn't.
no.
It's just too vulnerable to too many things.
The moment you let the Viego get shot, the moment you let the Viego get damaged, you know that you're gonna let him die. Because there is no way that you're protecting him once he's under Scorched Dart, Flock, and all that other stuff. On the other end, now, you're forced again to let Viego take damage, so I don't think this Viego is poised to do very much in this kind of games, especially since now we get Atrocity. Atrocity top deck, of course, super strong, but you'd never want to let Atrocity out on a target that can be killed by so many things.
Yeah, the Atro is a little bit suspect to play out right now. We'll see if Cosmo can find the opportunity to get it off and win the game with it, but looks like this is slowly slipping away from him. Third Asriel picked up from Ultraman as well. This is proof that he's a gamer. He's a true gamer, finding all of his champions. That's what, 4 champions this game plus the double Tri-Beam, so effectively 6 champions in a single game. Insane.
Damage. Man, damage. Bombs chewing through, little bit by bit, killing off the Viego. And now we have to choose, like, now you cannot even block the Viego without getting value traded by either Caitlyn or the how is it called? I never see that card.
Justice Rider. Justice Rider.
I legit have never seen that card being main decked. Maybe once by Sorry, when it was released.
Yeah, during release when people messed around with it just to see how strong the archetype actually was. But since then,
and we continue not finding anything valuable to play with. I mean, we are under basically every removal in the game. And I don't think we're in a very good position. I think Cosimo might even think about FFing, because I don't know how many chance he has got from now on.
There's still a fair bit of time left on this clock, so
yep.
Maybe don't have to FF quite yet. Ultraman did scoop rather early last game, but he was done. Cosimo maybe has a chance. He can find a couple things. He has a Vengeance here. He has double Hourglass. This, if he gets the opportunity here, he could potentially level up or make his Viego a little bit bigger. We'll see what he chooses to do.
I don't think you're ever going to get to Viego level up. I think Viego is gonna get shut down before.
Yeah, no, I misspoke. The level up's never happening, but he could grow him enough to the point where the Atro might. But
Okay, yeah, that's for sure. That's much more. Much more probable.
we of course do know with caster vision that Ultraman has the second tri-beam in hand that's been stacking up and has actually now picked up the third tri-beam as well. So this is looking more than a little bit doomed for Cosimo here. Ultraman wisely left the Ezreal back as well. And Cosimo just looking to minimize damage taken here. Doesn't even want to kill the Caitlyn. Is gonna... No, I don't know about this.
Ah, this is gonna hurt because you're pre-committing mana, and we know in this game, Legends of Runeterra, you rarely want to pre-commit.
Against the...
never, right?
Whoa, Ultraman let that through. Ooh. I don't know that I agree with that either, to be honest.
I would never give my opponent the chance to draw.
Why didn't we just Mystic Shot? Like, what's the punish to that? They Hourglass? Okay, then we use the other thing over top.
Yeah,
The
and even
Peacemaker.
then, he's just using more and more spells. So we are drawing him out. We have the control over the board. We have the control over the tempo potentially with the two thermo beams. So I cannot really say that I agree with what both players just did.
And we brought it up a little bit earlier, but that Caitlyn has now gotten her level up off, and she's become a win condition of her own. And we've also received an update from the other match in this series. Den is currently down against Dracos in the first game. We'll continue to keep you guys clued in as we get more updates.
Yep.
Vengeance
Den,
coming out.
Then, I don't know if you know, but it's the first EU seasonal champion.
Oh, was he the first EU seasonal champion? I know Den's a very good player. I've spoken to him about Fiznami. I did not know that he was the first champion, though. That's definitely a very, very strong player. Nice guy, too.
Yeah, it was the French. I think it was the French analyst slash coach for Team PCS. So, yeah, also there is that. Very strong, and I think very clever, strategically speaking. And here, though it's down against Dracos for 1-0. And oh, look at Cosimo, like he's in such a bad position that he has to find a way to protect Spider, and that's gonna be it though. You don't have any way to prevent Caitlyn from smashing down to your Nexus next round, and you even Iroh from Zed of Ultraman. The Corina Veraza buffed now from 6-6 to an 8-8.
I was gonna bring it up.
Smashing your Nexus down. 1-1 Ultraman Cosimo. We're going to game 3.
Cosimo puts the deny on the stack, just says, no, let me stop you. It's not gonna work. It doesn't stop attacks, it stops stuff.
Imagine
We
if
now
Red
have a
Negation-
set on our hands. Yeah, what if Rite of Negation did that? That'd be crazy. It'd be absolutely crazy.
Stun all enemies.
Yeah, like fast speed. What's the Noxus card called?
The roar of the Slayer.
Is that?
No,
That sounds right. That's the Scion card that kills something.
That's the silent card, but it's a roar. I remember indomitable roar, like that, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. I think you're right. That's not a card we see played too often. Not unless you're in something like Yasuo Suede. Not the most popular archetype. But we do get to see the Viego mirror match that we talked about, and I have to give this one to Ultraman. With the way the decks are built, with the way it's been constructed, he's on the triple deny, he's on the triple quicksand, he's on triple rite of calling. He's already found his soldiers and his soldier generators in the Hydrovine and his prince. This is looking good for Ultraman.
Yep. The engine is online. The vengeance is online also on his part, so potentially shutting down the opponent's engine. Really well positioned here. Cosimo though, going himself for another predict himself with another 2-3. And I think you have to predict kind of the Viego now, because you lack the engine. You could even draw him though.
He does, yeah, he has double Rite of Arcane. I think taking Viego there's a mistake.
Yeah.
Better to streamline your draw on the next turn and be able to present a board while you still can.
Yep, and now you can get the Hourglass potentially.
I think it had to be Hourglass there, but we'll see.
Because you know that you're drawing your champion in 2 or 3 turns, especially when you will need it. Probably on turn 5, since you have the attack token on that turn, you have the setup with the Merciless Hunter to remove anything that you don't like on the opponent's board beforehand. So I think that's a potentially very strong play with the right of calling. 2 Rite of Calling though maybe a little Greek then, because you know those Dread of Callings basically are Viegos, and I don't know if I would like having two Viego hands at this point in time.
Yeah, not in this mirror matchup, that's for sure. Despair, really good against Victor, really good against low attack units, but you don't really want to be taking 5 off your opponent's Viego, and you don't want to be taking 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 if they've got a couple soldiers down earlier in the game. Or a mist, sorry.
Or an Hydrovine. Like Hydrovine
Yeah.
is a unit you don't want to use the Despair on the Hydrovine. If you are gonna get down to that, it means that you're in a very bad spot already.
Yeah, and honestly, even using Despair at that point, I don't think it's going to save you.
Yep.
The open pass comes out from Ultraman here, and it puts Cosimo in a very awkward position. Of course, he's thinking, do I take this? But as we can see, Ultraman doesn't really have anything to play. This isn't a fancy open pass. This is a, I guess I got nothing.
This is an Alan pass from inside of Ultraman. Like, tell me, what do you want to do? Do you pass again? Do you pass? We just go to bar and sit together, passing until turn 5, and it's gonna be so.
Now, if you're Cosimo, you can decide to try and use one of these Rite of Callings on your Camavoran soldier. Or
I mean, it's a soft pass. If you want to use it to play a Viego this turn, it's basically just using it as a soft pass.
And
yeah, I might like playing the Camavoran Soldier and using the Rite of Calling on the unspeakable, not Super but the Arrowed Mist.
Mist, yeah. I don't remember what the mist is called, but on the mist. This is fine too, though. The mist, using it on the mist is of course vulnerable to the Vile Feast that we can see from the side of Ultraman, but it's a pretty good spot to bait it out. And like we said, you have to. You don't really want to be seeing a double Viego hand. Of course, there is some merit to deck thinning, but it's rather insignificant on the whole. We'll see what Cosmo decides to do here. Looks like he's considering making another mist.
Yeah. Yeah, which would buff his Viego, but not outside range of the opponents. So I think he's going to the safer option. Doesn't want to kill off his own board just yet. That's gonna come later into the game with the play of Camavor and Soldier. I think already at turn 6 now. But he lacks what is more important in this matchup, which are both Vengeance and Snapvine. Because when Snapvine comes in, Viego is gonna buff himself so much that your Viego is not gonna keep up.
Oh, another update for you. Dracos has taken his own set against Den with a quick 2-0, putting Runeterra Pals up 1-0 in the series. We'll see if Ultraman can close this one out to keep his team in the match.
Like look at the ends of those players. Basically, they have the same board. They have the same board, but the end is so much favorable towards Ultraman. Like if you run through all the potential outcomes.
I have to agree with you, Zero. The double hourglass means that this Viego is almost never going down. He's got the Hydrovine already, meaning that Viego's going to start leveling up much faster than Cosimo's ever could. And of course, we also see that he's got the Bakai Sand Spinner there, a personal pet card of mine as well, and one that's quite powerful in this matchup. Going to enable a pull on the Viego while also threatening pretty much anything else on the board.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, Cosimo top decks another Quicksand that can, of course, be helpful against potentially a Vengeance, because of course you are negating quite a lot of power from the not Vengeance on the Atrocity. One Quicksand is 4 less power, 4 less damage on your Nexus, which is a lot. It's basically like using a Star Shaping, if you think about it. It's literally a Star Shaping on the Atrocity target.
Yeah,
but
it is.
Without the value, of course, but I don't think you care at that point. But yeah, Cosimo is gonna try, and we see it is gonna try to pull the Viego and get a nice trade, but there are plenty of removals, plenty of answers on Ultraman's side.
Ultraman now going for his own Rite of Calling, wants to thin his deck, pick up an answer to this Viego potentially.
And pick up a Viego. you can just despair the Viego if you want at this point. It's not that big of a deal.
We'll see what he chooses to do. If we could get a quick production check on these Viego level ups, I'm curious to see if they're evened out or if one is a little bit higher. It would be thrilling to see that.
I think must be higher at the moment for Ultraman because one more unit died. I think. Like the
I think
2-2
you're
mist.
right.
Yeah, the 2-2 mist is already dead. So instead of Ultraman, but on the side of Cosimo, it's not.
Ultraman can potentially put 2 Viegos on the board here.
Yep, which is a pretty scary perspective. Of course, we have the right of negation to stop that, and I
But
don't
there's a
even know.
second hourglass.
Yep, but I don't know if double Viego is really what you want. Like,
No,
I
I
don't
don't
know how
think
you
so.
would manage the board and the space on the board with 2 Viegos.
With this board, I think you're okay. But we do see the Hydrovine come down from the side of Ultraman.
The Hydro Man.
And that's going to continue pushing up this Viego, continue making it a bigger and bigger threat. I don't think Cosimo has a realistic way of dealing with this right now.
Viego could be traded right away. Okay, you can trade your Viego for the opponent's Viego. The problem is, what do you get from that? Basically nothing.
You could try to make that trade.
Okay, yeah, as you mentioned, because Ultraman is a little ahead on the level up of the Viego because he's at 3, while Cosimo is just as 1 at the moment. He's gonna try to go for a potential trade, nonetheless,
Looks like
making the mist die and then going immediately. This quicksand could lead to a punish instead of Cosimo, killing also killing the Viego and getting 1 hourglass from Ultraman.
Yeah, it looks like Cosimo might come out ahead in this exchange. He's going to trade that deny for the hourglass, like you said, Zero, but we'll see what happens here beyond that. Or if he even decides to go for it.
I
Like,
mean,
just
if
choose to let it through.
deny now, and you know, it's only 1 deny in Cosimo's deck, as you mentioned before. 1 or 2, if I recall correctly.
There are 2 denies on the side of Cosimo and 3
One
on
of
the
two,
side.
so you're getting yourself exposed. But on the other side, Ultraman, we saw it earlier, it does not have any atrocity.
No atrocity from the side of Ultraman, you're right. Decided he didn't need it, I suppose. Wants to just play this prison lock board-centric game plan with the triple Hydrovine and the triple Bakai Sand Spinners enabling him to pull things.
Yeah, but here we see like why the Hydrovine is so strong. Like continuing to buff the Viego, continuing to buff everything on the board. All the mists are gonna be bigger and bigger. Like this turn is a 5-5. Next turn is gonna be a 6-6, 7-7 because of Viego own mist that's gonna be summoned. So I think the situation is snowballing a little bit out of control for Cosimo. I don't think he has many ways to get back into this game soon enough.
It's still really close, though. He does have... now that he took out Ultraman's first Viego, he's a little bit ahead on that level up progress. And we're going to see Cosimo go after the Hydrovine now. And I like this a lot. As you identified, Zero, this Hydrovine's the real threat on the board right now. It's continuing to buff up the Viego. It's continuing to work towards the Viego's level up condition.
The thing is, you mentioned, he's a little bit ahead. The problem is, Ultraman has the bigger mists that are gonna die each round. So Ultraman is gonna, like, again, go on par with the level up condition of Cosimo's Viego and surpass it and go above and beyond it and reach it much faster.
And of course, we also see that Hourglass is now available for the side of Ultraman without an answer from Cosimo. So his units are going to be protected if he wants them to be.
Because if you sequence out if you see the sequence now, this is gonna just be a kill on this mist, which is gonna lead to a 11-10 Viego.
Cosimo recognizes that he can't afford to let this mist work towards the Viego's level up condition. Unfortunately, the next mist is still going to be a 6-6. Doesn't do that much.
It's what I told you, you know? You can, like, Cosimo cannot afford for Ultraman to develop mists after mist, but that's not gonna stop the Hydrovine of generating one after the other every single turn, and I don't think there is enough time. I don't think there is enough attack on the board for Cosimo to even go for a very sped up level up.
I think you're right, Zero. I think at best it's going to be another 2, maybe even 3 turns before Cosmo is looking at this Viego level up. Yeah, he was able to kill a 2-3 there and generate a mist of his own, but that's still 6 compared to the fact that Ultraman's gotten 7 this turn all alone. And let's not forget, if he goes for any trades, that might change again.
Is Ultraman going for the spare? He was.
He's thinking about it.
I mean, I wonder what you are afraid of, because of course atrocity is a very big deal, but the opponent has only 3 cards in hand.
I don't think it's I don't think it's like a fear play. I think it's, and I would just want to reset this Viego before it gets too big.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with it at all. Yeah, and it looks like he is going to go for it, and this is going to get punished as well. So now both players are on their Ultraman's on his second Viego already, right? We saw one go down. Cosmo lost one as well.
That is the last Viego from Ultraman. This is the last and only Viego remaining, because one went down and then this one got fizzled.
Yes, it did.
This is a very powerful attack though. You have to block basically everything. You're gonna take 3 damage from the Kamavoran soldier. The Viego is very, very close to a level up here. When it reaches it, you have to feel the game is gonna end.
Knowing that Ultraman has no atrocity, though, you might just feel a little bit more comfortable taking some of this damage. But as you said, Cosmo does block everything down. Probably going to go in for that Hydrovine next turn, but and I imagine we'll see Ultraman let it go. We do want to just save all of our protection for Viego at this point.
Yeah, you don't care. And if he trades the Hydrovine, I think Viego is leveled up.
If not leveled up, yeah, he must, because it looks like Cosmo's like, maybe I don't want to do that.
Maybe I don't want to do that, but if I don't do that, everything is gonna get worse and worse and worse.
Well, he's leveling up naturally at the end of the turn too. There's a 7 mana ephemeral unit that's going down. So
yeah.
We'll
But
see
then
what
again,
happens.
yeah, this is gonna get punished so hard.
All right, and we do have an update from the last match in this set. Amway went down 0-2 to Masquerade. So,
Ultraman
we did
is the only
see
hope left to tank the loss, to lose, but less hard for TLG. Because if he wins, at least it will be 1 set going to the way of TLG, 2 going for the way of Scouts.
It is important to take whatever game wins you can. Having both your teammates go 0-2 is not the best. It's not the worst thing in the world. It happens. I mean, I went 0-2 yesterday in the AM shard. But, or I went 0-4 yesterday in the AM shard. It was bad. It was real bad. But your game scores do still matter. All of this stuff is important.
Level up? Is this a level up?
No, the arrow's not even going.
No, but I mean 4 plus the mist.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Wait, Cosmo's still on his first Viego? I thought he went down 1-2 already. I'm losing track of everything. Okay. We'll see.
I don't know how Cosmo wants to approach this.
I mean, Ultraman's just gonna open attack with lethal, right?
Yeah, it's lethal and you have to block the Viego to avoid lethal with your own Viego.
Viego's got a vulnerable.
Oh,
He's
right.
just gonna pull it to the side. This is just open attack lethal. Ultraman's gonna take the set. He's even going to threaten it.
Okay, just barely. 18. Okay, 20.
It
just
has
lethal
more
anyways.
than enough.
Yeah, I mean, 20 damage, lethal percent of Ultraman, and it's gonna be 2-1 Ultraman taking down Cosimo. In the TLG versus Pulse series, of course, we know that Pulse won overall the series for 2 best of 3 taken down to only 1 from the side of TLG, but still very, very good Runeterra showed by Ultraman. That's the reason basically why he is the rank 1 EU at the moment. He's very, very clean, very good, knows basically every single matchup, and even when it's not a very popular deck mirror, he knows what to look for, and he knows how he's gonna win, what to do with his win conditions. So props to him. Bit unfortunate that his 2 teammates couldn't keep up with the opponents, but yeah, it's the game. It's a team game, and when you win, you win. When you lose, you lose.
Absolutely. It's such a fantastic team tournament. And it's unfortunate that his teammates went down, but he did what he could to keep them in the series, keep them in the set, and keep their tiebreakers as high as they can be. What unfortunately, we're all out for this set. Like we said, the other two matches have completed already. But we are going to have more Legends of Runeterra action for you guys coming up after a quick break. Our next set of the day is Team Keg Gaming versus Phoenix. And we're going to be following Smooth Swallowist, who has brought some spicy deck lists, Zero.
To say the
I
least.
know. Yeah, they're very interesting deck lists. I was lucky enough to get a sneak peek of these last night in a different Discord server. Wick was asking what he was bringing, so he dropped them in there. I took a look at it and I was like, "Damn, we have to watch this tomorrow." I immediately came into the caster chat and I was like, "Red, we gotta follow Smooth." Red was like, I don't know, like everybody's rescheduling. We'll find out in the morning. I was like, no, we gotta follow Smooth, man. Like, look at these decks. So he took a peek, and sure enough, they were worth following. So hopefully we'll be able to get into that. But for now, we're gonna cut to a quick break. Thank you guys so much for sticking with us. We'll see you after this.
See you soon.
Welcome back, everybody. Once again, I'm Monte Cristo, and I'm joined by Zero, and this is Aegis' Legends of Runeterra EMEA season tournament league. And guys, we have another wonderful match coming up for you guys. We're gonna have Smooth Soloist up, and his decks up against, TKG up against Phoenix. We're gonna be following Smooth Soloist.
Yeah,
And
we still don't know who is gonna go against. It's like the beauty of like the live drafting that the teams are doing just before the matches. But the first deck that we are highlighting is from Phoenix's Brett Kata, which is a Pantheon Yumi Taric. What do you think about it?
I think it's a pretty good list. This is a very, very standard one. I really like the one up chain list. The one thing that I do notice, we're only on one Cataclysm and we're on 3 Golden Aegis. This is a bit of a reversal of the direction Yumi Pantheon had taken earlier in the season and last season. We were seeing more people go up to 3 Catalyst and only playing 1 or 2 Golden Aegis. But with the Tark in there, you really do want to be maximizing your potential of hitting that double rally. So it makes sense to go back to a full set of Aegis. Outside of that, we see 3 concerted strikes, 3 single combats, 2 concerted strikes, very standard split there. The one thing worth noting, Sharp Sight, despite being nerfed, still making an appearance as a 3 of, and no Shield of Durand, which we've seen start to come in as a replacement to Sharp Sight. Also, only 2 Mountain Goats, but again, that's not that unusual. What about you, Zero? Do you have any comments on this list?
Yes, because I remember from especially last season, where Pantheon Taric was more common. Especially last season, Yumi wasn't out yet, so Pantheon Taric was basically the most common splash, either that or Pantheon Shivana. And this list that we have here from Brett Kata is basically a mix from of the 2 versions, as you mentioned. We are back to 3 Golden Ages, of course. It's the super powerful double rally turn, which is super threatening on the opponent, and the opponent always, as soon as Taric comes in, you always has to fear when you have 4 mana open. The one thing that I would say is that this list suffers a lot from aggros or like swarm bundle decks in general, because it goes big, it doesn't go wide. And with the meta being as mid-range as it is, I think it's pretty strong, because usually the opponent don't develop as many units in the first rounds as they were like when Bundle City was at its prime. So I think it's a pretty good lineup choice to go for this deck in this kind of tournament.
I have to completely agree from you. And then on the other side, from TKG, we're gonna have Smooth Swallowist, and this is a deck. This is a
Oh,
blast from
God.
the past if I've ever seen one. It is burned to the max. We have Legion Saboteurs, we have Precious Pets, we have Ballistic Bots, we have Boom Crew Rookie, even a one of Pharaoh's Financier
No.
in there to help him find an extra Shock Blast. There's a Darius. I'm surprised there's no Apprehend, Zero. He's playing
Yeah, I'm
Station
surprised
Archivist.
too,
He
because
should be
you would
playing the
want.
Apprehend too. Come on.
I mean, you only have one of Darius, so Upend wouldn't have that much value, no? Because you don't have the consistent rally threat if you only have one of Darius. Upend, of course, very fun spell. I've seen it played like twice in Overwhelm Recorex decks. That was very fun, when you would rally with an Overwhelm, and the opponent would be super confused about what happened, and they just get run down. But yeah, as you mentioned, this is a good old Barn with Darius just as a finisher, just as top hand. We see the curve is super low, both in terms of burn and in terms of units. And Darius just 6 mana unit that you play one off, just as the powerful finish that you need in late game. But as you mentioned, Smooth Swallows has brought a whole lineup of spicy decks today.
Yeah, the other decks in this lineup are all also burn decks of a similar variety, featuring Room Crew Rookie and all these other cards, as many kill spells as you can cram into them. And
And of
man,
course, we thank Runeterra ER to give us this loading screen from the deck, because as you can see, guys, this loading screen is super cool, with the mana cost, the mana curve, the rarity. You can just check out how much the deck costs in terms of essence, given to us by Vivo and Runeterra ER.
yeah, the other great thing about Runeterra AR, their stats actually make sense. Unlike Mobalytics, which I know I've been forced to rely on in the past before AR got themselves up, AR has stats. They're readily available. They're not behind a paywall. It's the best place to be if you ever need anything Legends of Runeterra related. I post all my decks there. If you want, if you want to check out what I've been playing, if you want to check out what Zero's been playing, that's the place to go. You can look up any player. As long as they're in Masters, their decks are going to be there. They, of course, do have the option to lock down their match history, just as is required by Riot and the API. But even then, you can see what they've been playing recently. Their top decks will still be along the top, and it's similar to how you can go click inspect on the ladder.
Yeah, and especially when you're scouting players. Like for me, I can speak because I cast a lot of tournaments, and I have to prep for the casting to know what the players have been preparing, have been playing on ladder. Even though you're not gonna see what they played in scrims, because the friendly matches are not gonna catch by caught
They
by
come up
the
if you do a best of
AI.
3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, and of course, checking Runeterra AR is the best tool that a caster or I think any analyst can have. Like either that, yeah, that website is super super cool.
Yeah, it's a fantastic website, and I know I use it a lot for my own Runeterra Academy prep on the AM Shard. Uh, with uh, with that said, though, we both got a chance to look at some of these decks from Smooth. He's brought Teemo, Echo. What was the third champion in that one?
Zillian.
Zillion. Yes, that's right. Smooth said, and I quote, Zillion is a prime burn champion. And I bow down to that wisdom
He
because
plays
I've been
three
saying
copies of
this at the
Zillian.
start. The first thing I said when I saw Zillion, I was like, he's cool. He can go control, but like, what if we just duplicate burn spells?
I'm telling you, that is Zillian. That is a Zillion deck, not a Teemo, not an Echo one, because he plays 3 copies of Zillion, 2 copies of Teemo, and only 1 copy of Echo. So that's a Zillion list with Burn. Burn Zillion, apparently in his mind, super super strong. But I trust him, and you
I
know why?
trust it.
Because he's the Monday Madness GOAT, the greatest player of all times. He has won 3 times the Monday Madness. It's the most times that anyone has been able to win, and if he can win consistently a random deck tournament, I have faith in him in a constructed one.
For those of you who don't know, the Monday Madness tournament is put on by Sparkling Iced Tea on his own channel, and it's a deck roll tournament. What a deck roll is, there's a bot in Discord, and you type /deck roll, and it just spits out a deck for you. And if Smooth can win consistently with a deck roll in a deck roll tournament like that, one, he's either a high roller, or two, he's just cracked with bad decks. And I gotta say, these are not the best decks. They're not, but they are fun. They are exciting. There's so much burn in there. Like I can't wait to see what he's got in store for
I
us.
mean, he has a Sentinel control, right? At least
Yeah.
he has a Sentinel control deck. So there, it's a little bit more on the usual side. Even though that Sentinel control is very, very heavy on burn. It's not
Yeah.
like the control with the Corina and or Ledros. No, the deck is just burn, 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 burn.
Yeah, he has even managed to convert a deck that's normally considered a control deck in Sentinels into a burn deck. So should be very, very exciting to see what he's got in store for us. I hope he can pull it off. I hope he can come out swinging and take down his opponents in Phoenix.
Yeah, and when we talk about Phoenix, Phoenix is home of a super stacked player because we see Brett Kata, which is very super strong tournament player. Maybe on the latest season, not being super high on ladder, not being like consistently top finishers, but like top 50, not top 20 or something. But in tournaments, has always showed up. I still remember him winning one of the last RCO Invitational with other super super strong players back when Cross Shard was still available, and it always struck me as one of the best players we have in Europe. We have Casmin, which is a caster like me, a friend, and like lately has been putting off some very very good results in ladder, like hovering around top 40, top 50 or something. And Ipser Waldo, which is a seasonal champion, so they have a super super strong lineup for this week.
Yeah, great set of players. Really nice guys too. I've had the pleasure of speaking with all of these gentlemen. Honestly, everybody in the Runeterra scene is nice. It's just amazing how kind and how willing to help each other our scene is. So if you are considering competing in a tournament like this, maybe you're a viewer and you've just hit Masters for the first time, and you're like, where do I start on a lineup? Just ask somebody. Just ask. Shoot a message. People are so happy to help you. They're so happy to talk about decks and lineup theory and lineup construction and deck construction and teching. Like we love the game and we love to share the game with all of you and help everybody else. So if you're scared, if you're worried about like where do I begin, just drop a message. See what some of these players have to say. I'm sure you'll get an answer.
Yeah.
And
And so we are gonna hover in a very very short break before the series TKG versus Phoenix. It's gonna be up shortly. See you soon.
we're back from that very, very short break. And we're going to go straight into the deck pick and ban phase here. And we said it was Sentinel control, but it's Sentinels with only Kindred and Elise. Normally, this is a 3-champion split. And of course, we see that Darius deck that we brought up and the Echo Zillion Teemo deck that we talked about. From Casman's side, we have Talia Malphite, a favorite of mine. We also have Sivir Akshand, and we have Scouts, arguably one of the strongest decks in the metagame right now.
Yep. Even
Zero.
though it was nerfed, because we know the Sergeant was nerfed, Sharpset was nerfed, it's still so strong. That speaks volumes about how strong it was before the nerfs.
Yeah, it really does. I've seen a few people, as I said earlier, starting to replace sharp sights with Shield of Durand. With elusives not being as prominent in the meta, the +1 attack buff not quite as necessary as the +2 was. And of course, you don't need the elusive blockers. So +3 HP, very, very powerful off of Shield of Durand. What are we thinking from bans here, though? I would imagine Smooth is going to take out the Scouts. Unless, of course, this Sivir Akshan list is running a Radiant Guardian, in which case maybe that's a consideration.
I'm gonna immediately check just to know. I know knowing Casmin potentially it is because I know how much he hates when he plays aggro, anything that heals, but it doesn't. Okay, only 3 Vicarum Bruisers standard list, 3x of all of his units, 1 off of Rite of Negation, 1 off of Shield of Duran, but aside from that, it's super standard.
PBG deck building at its finest. So yeah, it's got to be the Scouts ban from the side of Smooth then. And if you're Castman, what are you looking at banning? And it's apparently the Darius deck.
I mean, you're kind of afraid of it because it's a lot of burn and you don't have ways to heal. Like
All
that
of
kind
these
of
are a
burn,
lot of burn, but I guess Darius, as I don't know.
that is the more aggressive, I think.
Yeah, I think
Potentially.
you're right.
Because that I saw that deck and the first thing I thought it was okay, turn 3 turn 4 I'm dead. Maybe not turn 4, but by turn 5, turn 6 potentially just at fast speed, even if you declare an attack you're just gonna be dead by burn most of times. So it makes sense why it went for that ban immediately. We're just waiting for Smooth to Duelist ban. You mentioned might be Action C, might be Scouts because of its strength. What do you think of Malphite Talia in this kind of best of three?
I think Malphite Talia is a better deck than people give it credit for, and I like it a lot. That said, I think it also fits in this lineup. That said, it is weak to aggro. I know that Desert Duel is something that Roji has started including. I've been meaning
Ooh,
to touch
really?
that myself. Yeah, he started playing Desert Duel. He likes having a little bit of interaction. It is quite valuable. Makes a lot of sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like it. It's very, very weak to aggro a lot of times. You need a very specific double, triple chip draw if you want to be able to hold your own against aggro. And it can do it. It can certainly do it, but we've seen Roji tech in stuff like Solari Sunforger or even Star Shaping in the past just to shore up that aggro matchup a little bit. And I don't know that it's necessarily going to be enough against these decks from Smooth.
It may be not. It may be not enough because Smooth Duelist is super aggressive, like we mentioned time and time again. But he decided maybe, okay, I'm done with control. I'm done with mid range. Just play full burn. I don't care. I just go face with everything and then finish what it remains of the opponent's nexus with my burn. I think he has had enough.
Yeah, I believe it. Burn also happens to be quite good into the metaforce that is Mono Shurima. Seen a surprisingly little amount of it this week. I don't know about the rest of EMEA, but from the players I have taken a look at, not a ton of it. And there was literally nobody else in my AM group yesterday, except for my own team that brought it. So maybe on its way out even before the patch.
Yep. Potentially, like we know, like a big part of that deck popularity is also just because it was unplayable for so much time that it become kind of the meme of the patch. You know, like that deck that now is too strong to be to let it be meta, and before it was completely unplayable. So also that's part of the popularity. In tournaments, we have seen it experimented in lineups. It's very, very strong. We mentioned Shurima, super strong region at the moment, especially with Quicksand, but definitely can be cut out if the meta develops in a certain way.
Especially for a tournament like this where you can be like cherry picking your matchups and you can be researching. And yep, it is that scouts ban, just like I predicted coming out from the side of Smooth. So as far as deck selection goes, I think if you're Castman, this is one spot where you queue up Sivir first. Sivir has a better shot into both decks. You'd rather give your Malphite a second life.
Yeah.
That said, I don't even know that it makes a difference.
I mean, Malphite Talia can go super well or super wrong, just from the get go. So yeah, I think so. I think it's better to do as you mentioned. Like you go with severe action. You know that deck is super solid. Always been an EMEA special since the World Championship. Even before that, not gonna lie. Even just when even since action was released, it's been a staple deck in EU for tournaments. So players have are super comfortable playing it usually. So I think it's a pretty valid choice. Instead, he opts for the Malphite Talia. Very interesting.
Interesting.
And we have the chip. Yes, we have the best card in the game. My chip.
So chip into Rockhopper is what you want to be seeing if you're Castman. But Smooth has a pretty good opening hand for himself as well. Does of course find the Teemo and has a ballistic bot to start this game off.
Man, the ballistic water's engine is gonna hurt so much because you don't have that many tools, at least in the early game, to get rid of it. You have to commit to both the Rockhopper and the Desert Duel.
And Smooth actually punished by taking that open attack. Now is priced into playing out the Cillian over the ballistic bot. When really what you want to be doing is getting that bot set up. Does find a time bomb though. I wonder if he chose to take it.
Time bomb can be pretty strong. You're just getting rid of the Rockhopper and at the same time setting up for potentially for in time, of course, the level up. You mentioned it in when we were spotlighting the decks from Smooth Duelist. If you have that Zillion leveled up, you have infinite amount of burn, which is exactly what your deck needs.
Yeah, and Smooth is exactly going for it. He's gunning. He put down the time bomb, and look, he found the second. He's gonna get the Cillian up on turn 4.
No, wait, we might be. No, Desert Duel is not gonna be played to stop it. I was thinking, yes, maybe you can play Desert Duel to stop the immediate level up, but it's not gonna be the case. This is insane.
The other fun thing about time bombs, they activate your ballistic bot's augment, meaning that they're gonna help this bot start growing. And he found a third time bomb. What a gamer! Shuffles 4 in, draws 3 in the top 3. What a gamer!
I mean, he shuffled the deck back. So because you know he shuffled the deck. So who knows where the time bombs might have been. And now the situation is not good for Kathleen at all. He's going for much more draw because Perseverance is gonna draw 3 at the start of the next round. But I wonder, is it gonna be enough?
And if you're smooth, do you look for your second Zillion in the anticipating that this one's gonna go down?
Also here, if you think about it, Casmin being able to draw more and more, it's not really helping him because it gives Teemo Shrooms the opportunity to eat.
Yes, it does. I don't know, but not everybody can be a gamer, but it looks like Smooth is. Teemo's gotten in once, twice, and we've already seen Casmin draw a fair number of shrooms.
Oh no, now we can play. No, this chip is gonna be killed off immediately by the time bomb, and it's gonna be there's gonna be room for an open attack from the side of Smooth Swallowist. Man, it's a rough spot to be in.
Casmin forced to use the hourglass on the chip here. Doesn't want to die. This is not where you want to be as a Malphite player. This is not looking good for him.
Yeah, but the Thalia level up is so good. The Thalia level up animation there, man, that's so smooth.
Honestly, the best skin.
Yeah, probably one of the best skins in the game for sure. Like I like a lot also like Trundle Wordbreaker. I think that skin is super cool. And also just like from splash art, I like also Riven Sentinel of Light.
That's a nice one too.
But yeah, this level up animation from Thalia is so cool that, man, it's something else.
Casmin drew more shrooms, not what he wants to be seeing at all, and now he's considering going for this Rite of Arcade. Kind of has to. What does he kill though?
Yeah, you have to do that because that's damage that's gonna hit for sure, while Teemo is gonna just put 5 more mushrooms into your deck. I think that's the right call here from Casmin, but we are at the end game. Suddenly we are facing our end game because yes, we might have a lot of blockers, but Smooth can just go face, can just say me go face and finish you off with some burn.
Yeah, at 10 HP you're looking really low, and we see 2 from the Ruinous Path, we see 3 from the Aftershock. That's a total of 5 plus the bot. That's 6. 9 from the Shock Blast, and of course Teemo's gonna connect, and this Boom Crew Rookie is gonna deal its 2 damage to Nexus as well. This is looking rather over for Casmin.
This is looking done here for Casmin. I don't think there is many ways for him to come back into this game, especially when you're facing such a deck that's all oriented towards burn. Like if it was a Caitlyn Zeal that you can still hope that it doesn't draw its burn, just draws maybe some other cards, some static, yes it can draw, but it's not gonna kill you immediately, or something like that. No, this deck is just solely focused towards killing you through direct hits to your Nexus. And we see another hit from the Ignition. There's gonna be another one on the next round that potentially you can play the Aftershock, and suddenly Casmin is at 3 HP.
Yeah, but Casmin also is kind of looking like he might kill Smooth with this open attack. The Ballistic Bot has to block the 5-2, and Thalia is going to get blocked by... Oh, Talia's actually going to get killed here. Yeah, and I like this play from Smooth. He has more than enough burn left in his hand, so he's going to just stop 10 damage, the potential for 10 damage, and it's smart. Very heads up.
Also, no Magus played so far from Casmin, so no buff on Thalia, no overrun, no +2/+2, so that helped a lot here with the cleanup on that specific champion. And Hurtwell is not really afraid of an open attack right now, not anymore, and has everything he needs to kill the opponent in few turns, not immediately, but now with the cask.
Yeah, the cask.
The Caskman. The cask salesman, yeah.
Is going to offer a couple extra points of burn as well as some blockers here. Fearsome blocker too, possibly the most important part. And we do actually have an update from the other set in this match, in this series. Kasai is
One over
up.
Kata.
Yeah, is up 1-0 over Kata.
Interesting. Kata, as we mentioned, super strong player, in my opinion. It's very interesting to see how in this kind of tournaments there are so many good players, that even the ones that are known for being super consistent in tournaments can lose games, can lose potentially series. And that's super good because it means that the community scene, the competitive scene is alive, and players are showing up more and more.
Yeah, Seth talked about this a little bit when he did his Tapatya account experiment, and how a lot of players disrespect others if they've never encountered the player before. If they don't know who you are, they just automatically assume that you're garbage, and that's really not fair because these players are quite strong clearly, and just because they haven't had tournament success in the past doesn't mean that they're not capable now. This is going to force out the Rite of Negation, opening up the way for the Shock Blast. And it looks like game one is going to go over to the side of Smooth Soloist. I don't see any way for Casman to win out here.
Yeah, we mentioned it. The Smooth deck was aiming to do only one thing, and one thing it's gonna do: burn the opponent down to 0 health. The Nexus is gonna fall, and there is nothing left to stop Smooth Soloist.
I actually
For good
really
measure, for good measure, he's gonna play Zinkan.
I was going to say, I really like this line from Smooth in the case that that there is a second Rite of Negation here for Casman. He's making himself completely safe. The moment this Mystic Shot hits the stack, he's going to get another one back from Zillion next turn. If this Desert Duel comes out now, it's going to tap Casman below the Rite of Negation, and then he's going to know that it's safe to go in for it. Like, either way, he's checkmated his opponent here. Very well played by Smooth.
And it's gonna be Smooth leading this series 1-0 against Casman. We have seen also Kasai from TKG leading the series against Brech Kata. So TKG, at least for now, it's in a 2-0 advantage as far as games are concerned. Everything can happen though. We could see reverse sweeps. It would not be the first time we've seen a reverse sweep from this kind of players. And now Casman is gonna have to win against the Sentinel control deck with both Action Seaver and Malphite Talia to win the series. This is gonna be rough.
It's going to be rough indeed. Like we said, I think Casman probably should have led with the other deck. That Malphite Talia is going to suffer into aggro. Of course, he does have that second shot now, but I don't know. Don't you want another one? I probably switch to Sivir here and hope that I can make it through. It would be different in a different tournament because in a different tournament, your game sets don't matter. But here, you really do want every single win you can get. And Casman says, no, Monty, you're wrong. I'm just going to win with Malphite Talia. Or at least he's going to try, but I don't know, buddy. I don't think it's going to work out for you. This is a rough matchup.
Maybe saying, okay, if I can win here, the opponent's mental is going to be completely destroyed. I'm going to just win with the Action Seaver like it's nothing, because I'm going to win with a deck that's considered bad.
Yeah, it is pretty widely considered bad, unfortunately. And there is still hope for the side of Phoenix because Ace managed to go 1-0 against Walden.
And he's not like you said. Okay, Ace managed to go 1-0 against. Ace managed to go 0-1 or 1-0. Ooh,
Ace is on. No, sorry, I'm tripping. Ace is on TKG. I'm losing my mind.
Yeah, because they have different icons, because Ace is also playing in the AM one. So I was like, yeah, but that means the TKG are leading everywhere.
Yeah. TKG is leading everywhere. So things are looking grim for the side of Phoenix, rather. Caster is monkey brain sometime. We're gonna see Smooth put down the Kindred though, and of course we did also see him get in. But if you're Casman, this is what you want to be seeing. This turn 4 Saltspire into turn 5 Talia is what makes this Talia Malphite deck so powerful.
And
if you can survive to this point.
on
It's
curve.
crazy.
Talia, turn 5, summoned, level up, and on top of that you get the value out of her, creating another landmark, and not like a random landmark. This landmark is gonna spawn another 5/4. Those landmarks are gonna be pivotal to take control of the board and not let smooth duelists attack and deal damage through the board, but only through burn, which is not gonna be super easy because yes, you have potentially 9 damage if you're smooth, but you have to find a way to deal the rest, 6 more damage to Nexus before Casmin can win through board.
Yeah, luckily does have a glimpse beyond in hand, so can opt to take out his kindred here. Should be safe. Probably wants the 5/1 to trade into the 2/2, just to clear down the board a little bit.
Kindred, you're taking no damage, though.
How much do you care about that at this point? You're trying to kill them first. Isn't it better to just guarantee you're getting some draw? Yep. I guess Smooth disagrees, but I don't know. I think making a 5/4 of your own and guaranteeing some draw points there, it's kind of nice.
Malphite might be the ultimate win condition here. I don't know how we are gonna answer to a giant Malphite slamming down on everything and potentially already stunning everything on the spot, because we are gonna have the banked mana to do it next turn.
Yes, we certainly will.
I don't know. I think this might just be over, and Casmin might just have won with the deck that we mentioned. Suffers from aggro.
Well, we do see that Smooth Swallowist has kept up the used Casket Salesman, so if the Ground Slam does come out from the Malphite next turn, there's a good shot that we're going to just see that in response. Developing 3 blockers with 1 action is an insanely powerful effect. I think it's going to be enough to allow Smooth to survive.
Yeah, it is gonna be enough, and especially now Casmin with no mana left can suffer from potential draw from side of Moot. We see the glimpse beyond. Maybe this is gonna be the time where he feels comfortable enough in playing it. And his blockers are gonna come through.
You were saying Casmin might have won with the unfavored deck, but Smooth is out here with the emote game, showing Casmin that, hey, I'm not dead yet. You gotta do a little bit more, buddy.
2 HP? No, Casmin isn't just at 2 HP. It's so sad.
Yeah, he's got 7, and then of course we do see a total of 5 in hand, and we see that glimpse available as well. Looks like it's gonna come out here too.
We're always thinking there is no absolver from this one side, and even if there was, there would be no mana.
That's another cast salesman. That's gonna be the game.
It's gonna be the game, and I caster cursed Casmin. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, but sometimes
Casmin still has a chance to draw into the card he needs. We didn't see a predict. Has potentially 2 draws here. Smooth did give him a slow speed action. He's gonna go for the Preservarium.
Okay.
That's not it. Has to dig one more time. Has exact mana. Can he find it? Buy himself another turn.
Yes!
He found it!
Yes! Caster Bless! Caster
Unfortunately, it's still not going to be enough because we do see the get excited from the side of Smooth here.
Second one in top deck. I believe.
What's going to happen? It's not the second Rite of Negation. I don't even know if there is a second Rite of Negation.
I don't know, but
I'm assuming there is because Casmin kept playing the last one. But there's a good chance there's not. I don't even know if there's room in the list. Smooth takes it down with a clean 2-0 against Casmin's Talia Malphite. Casmin really did his best. He had the Salt Spire into Talia on curve. It's exactly what you want to see, like you said. Leveled up Malphite on curve as well. It just wasn't quite enough to get him over the line. Smooth played it so well, finding the cast salesman when he needed it. Finding the second one to push the last 2 points of burn. And then finding the exact burn he needed to finish off the game. Very, very well played by both parties.
And Smooth Duelist with the burn lineup, with the super just go face. I don't care about your mid-range decks. I don't care about playing through board. I just want to smork you down or burn you with all my spells in the end. Wins this series for TKG, and the situation like really looks grim for Phoenix, because we mentioned that's a very, very strong team, but when you go up against unconventional deck list or unconventional lineups, your confidence might struggle.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it earlier at the start of the broadcast. If you don't know what you're playing, how can your opponent know what what they're playing against? Uh, we did get another update from the side of TKG. Kasai is 1-1 in their matchup against Kata. Hopefully, we'll be able to jump into one more games. Ace cleaned it out with a clean 2-0 against Waldo. So, with any luck, we'll be able to jump into game 3 of Kasai versus Kata here, and then hopefully we can bring you guys the last bit of action from today's series. And it should be a good one.
Yeah, and for now though, both Ace and Smusueloist cleaned up easily with a 2-0 each. So it's 4-0 for TKG, which are gonna win even in case of Brett Kata coming and reverse sweeping Kasai the series for at least 4-0. So
Yeah.
not good for Phoenix, not really the play they needed to get higher on the standings. We saw Phoenix though were on a little bit comfortable position though, had quite few wins on their side, so they're not like in a dire spot concerning the league. And let's see if we can get into the game 3 of Kasai versus Brechkata, and so it seems like we're gonna be able to do.
Yeah, just taking a quick peek at the standings for Group 2, it looks like Phoenix did need to win today against TKG if they wanted to advance into the upper half of the standings. But as you said, we do have the third game in this series on our screen for you guys, and it's Kasai with the Riven Victor by the looks of it up against Kata's Talia Ziggs.
And we are seeing Talia Ziggs a little bit domineering the board at this point, and Victor and his deck just need some powerful strike points, some powerful elusive strike, and I don't know if there is gonna be enough time for it to become a reality.
Doesn't look like this Talia is leveled up, so I think Kasai, if they can hold out for this turn, they have a very, very good shot of closing out on the next one. They just need to keep this Neon Droid alive, and then they have constant damage threat. We'll also be able to set up another Victor if they choose, but more likely that we're going to see the Archivist come down here in response. Actually, it is the Victor.
We did the Victor probably because it's another 4 health blocker. So it can go, it can block potentially. Another Endless Devout can block 3 health, 3 attack unit without getting traded. You're gonna be forced to block also with your ballistic bolt.
Yeah, you have to, but that's okay. You're not feeling too bad about this. Right now, you're looking like you're gonna take 3 damage, and that's okay. It's not ideal, but it is okay. Your Victor's staying alive. You still have Mystic Shot if you want to stop any shenanigans. Doesn't look like a leveled up champion's been played from the side of Kata, so I don't think this Absolver's online for to help push him over the edge.
Yeah, of course, if the Absolver was online, it would be game over. There would be no way for Kasai to prevent it from happening. But it looks like it's not, and the Neon Droid is gonna be traded. This is massive.
This is huge, but it's not enough because we do see that there's an ambush available for Kasai here. This Victor is going to go up to 4 attack this turn, and then he's going to be able to get a keyword. If it's Impact, if it's Scout alongside the ambush, it could be game over for Kata.
That's super nice. I mean, in here we see how important is the roll from the Victor. How important it is to roll the right keywords at the right time. But even though I think it might be enough because you just ambush the ballistic bot.
Yes, you can just ambush the ballistic bot. You can also just start with the Station Archivist. Maybe you find a second ambush. That's looking scary. Suddenly an open attack is the play, but will Kasai be able to read that? This is close. This is a real nail biter of a game we jumped into. What a way to close out today's broadcast. You have so many options if you're Kasai. You can go for the Poros. They're going to represent 3 damage apiece because they're buffing up both your augment units. Yep. You can go for the Victor spell. If you hit Spell Shield, you're feeling pretty good. And does go for the Station Archivist. Finds exactly 1 card. It was survival skills.
Oh, she's insane.
Oh my god, that's exactly what he needed to see.
When 1 spell in the first 5 cards of his deck, that is literally the 1 spell he needs. to assure that he's
Crazy.
not gonna lose the game. This is GG. There is no way to stop this. No way at all.
There's no way at all. Yeah, you go for the poros. Wait, there's Hexplosive Minefield in the deck, but obviously we don't see it in hand. Kasai now has to determine, do they want to play around it? Do they want to play into it? What do you do in this spot? It's such a hard spot to maneuver.
No one likes a bad winner, Sammy.
I mean,
He's just going to play it slow, goes
Yeah,
for
you
the
can
soft
play
pass with the
slow.
Victor spell.
of course we know everything because of caster vision, so it's much easier for us to understand what the prey pass is condition. But like this, you're just leveling up the Victor, getting potentially new keyword, paying 0 for your ignition, and having much more mana. at your
But
disposal.
Kata could still find a Hexplosive Minefield here. That's a scout.
If that's
That
if that's
complicates
a
things.
minefield, if that's a minefield, man.
Kata's gotta look for it with the Talia spell. It's the only out here. And even then, it's still not enough, as we can see. Might buy them another turn, though.
And that could be what they need if they top deck some crazy out. I don't even know what you could have, because Talia is not leveled. If Talia was leveled, it would be much easier.
And is just going to go for the Rite of Arcane directly. This is going to increase the odds of the minefield, because you're left with exactly 1 mana after casting the Talia spell. So it's almost guaranteed to hit. There's only 4 landmarks, I think. Huh?
Oh. Yeah.
Okay.
Of
Yeah.
course,
We're going this way.
you're
We're going
buffing your
this way.
Victor over the limit, so there's gonna be nothing to stop it. But now the minefield is a potential. Minefield now is a real threat.
Yes, now Minefield is an actual out, and he missed! Oh no! Kasai gave him the out, and he didn't have it. Didn't find it, wasn't lucky enough. That's gonna be GG's from the... There's the minefields. There's the minefields. We tried. Sorry, Kata, we tried to caster blast you. It worked for Caspin. He found the deny when he needed it. Wasn't enough for him. Unfortunately, the blessing wasn't enough for you. Kasai takes it. TKG closes out that set 3-0. What a wonderful way to end off today's broadcast.
We started today's broadcast, at least this series, with Burn, and we ended with a different kind of Burn deck, but still, Victor Riven, probably the best deck in the meta at this point. Like, I've seen it so much in ladder. I'm sick of it at this point, basically. The Victor buff was so strong. Like, I think no one would have prevented it, but that deck is insane.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. I didn't expect the Victor buff to do that much of a difference. So I was of the impression that 1 mana, okay, it'll help a lot, but you're still giving up a priority every single turn. You still got to roll the right keywords. Turns out the 1 mana matters a lot more than you'd think. Just being able to get the Victor to that leveled up form and discounting everything else that much quicker is really, really important.
Yeah, and also just maybe people imagine Victor in some kind of control deck. Maybe with Invoke, we have seen tests of Victor Aphelios, especially since Aphelios has been buffed and it has been tried in many lineups. I've seen it in some tournaments. It is solid, not as solid as you would like, probably if you are a Targon player or a control player, but it's playable. It's still a very good choice if you're going for a kind of Invoke list that's going to late game with value. But Victor, that buff was insane, and he's gonna be and he's played in aggro. He's played basically in what is an aggro burn deck with Riven, which can give him full potential to both get leveled up super quickly because Riven blades, and of course discount every single card.
Yeah, and the newer versions of this Victor Riven list are a lot smoother. They're a lot cleaner. At the start, we were playing it like Draven Rumble, right? They had Decimates in there. They had all sorts of stuff. But I believe it was Bajatak that said, nah, Decimates are clunky. Let's get rid of those. We're going to just play Rallyman and some Rummages, and we're just going to streamline our game plan and just try and win through Victor, through Riven. And it works. Stuns are ineffective against the 4/3 Ruined Reckoner, or Midnight Reckoner. I think it's Midnight Reckoner.
It's Midnight because the Ruined is the other one.
Yeah. No, I think it is Ruined. Midnight's the one that, I don't know.
Midnight is the one that gives unable to block. Yeah, probably.
I think so, something like that. But yeah, that card doesn't care about stuns, and it turns out when you're playing a deck that wants to win through the board, stuns kind of matter, but when you start a free attack, I don't know. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. So super happy to be able to see that deck come together. It's been those champions have been some of my favorites since they were released, and it's nice to have them uh, achieve their time in the sun. But I think that's going to be about it for us from us for today. Zero, do you have anything you wish to say to our lovely viewers before we sign off?
Thank you. Thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for watching and supporting us, for supporting the Runeterra Aegis League with your viewership and with your love. I think I speak for everyone in the community when you say that we love the community. We want to make the best for it. And yeah, thank you for being a part of the community.
I could not have said it better myself, my friend. Thank you so much to everybody who came out today. Thank you to Aegis Esports for partnering up with Runeterra Academy and putting on such a wonderful tournament for us. We had the amazing AM tournament last season, and then they went bigger and better, and they brought us both an AM tournament and an EMEA tournament for this season.
Epic,
Who could have,
bro.
like, so much work that these guys are undertaking is just so phenomenal. Thank you to Aegis for bringing me on to this desk. I've had the best time casting these EU matches. It's been able to expand my own matchup knowledge. I've been able to study the EU players, which I'm not normally capable of doing unless they're playing in the AM tournaments, which they do quite frequently. And they do quite well in those quite frequently because the EU players are kind of cracked. Kind of cracked. Shh.
You use the best region. You use the best region.
You're stretching there, baby. But yeah, don't let anybody know I said that. EU definitely has a place in my heart. Aegis definitely has a place in my heart. And Zero, thank you for being a wonderful co-caster today. It's always a pleasure. I'm glad we get to cast again, and I'm looking forward to casting more in the future with you. But that's going to be it from us today. Thank you once again to everybody who tuned out. We'll see you back here next week.
See you soon.
Bye.